That's all good. All right, it's 1 minute past 4, and we've got a fair amount of material that we're going to cover today. So I'll start by just welcoming everybody. Thank you, everybody, for attending this session. We're probably going to get more people that will roll in through the hour. This session is recorded, so if you guys want to go and review it later, or someone didn't have the opportunity to watch it, then it will be uploaded into YouTube, and then you can look at it at your own leisure. One of the things that I wanted to do in this session is just to basically look back at everything that has been released from a Copilot perspective, and then give a reflection on where we're at. Now, a lot of the work and presentations that we did last year and earlier this year were more focused on the maker side of things. So as a maker, as a consultant, as someone who's working with the Power Platform, I would like to use Copilot to enhance my productivity. And it's come in quite handy in quite a few occasions where you can go and say, hey, I want to do that, and we'll go and do it for you, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, what I'm going to be doing today is I'll spend maybe the first half of the session just recapping some of those capabilities and pointing out where you can use it as a consultant. But then the second half is more around what can you build for other people to leverage, for other people to use, the end users. So that's not necessarily for the consultants, but this is where a consultant can go add value to an organization and then give them the opportunity to use capabilities like Copilot to enhance their day-to-day work, be it a user, like an end user that is licensed, that is using a model-driven app or a Canvas app, for example, or be it an external user using a portal component and then interacting with a chatbot and wanting to go and ask questions about the products that organization sells, or about a process or something similar to that. So everything is going to be demo driven. I don't have any slides today. So I'll start by sharing my screen basically, and then we'll go through the different scenarios. Let me know when you can see my screen. Hopefully it's clear. Yep, I can see thumbs ups. Awesome. By the way, this is a tip that I'm going to give you guys, and if you find it useful, buy me a beer. You know this annoying, if you're using Teams, the new Teams, you've got that annoying thing that comes up at the top, and then you can't get it to hide and you can't remove it. All you have to do is just click on it somewhere blank, like not a button, just somewhere on it, and do a Control W, and it will disappear. That made my day, and someone gave me that tip, and now I'm selling it to everybody. But it comes at a price, so please buy me a beer next time I see you if you find that useful. All right, anyway, so the first three things that I'm going to demonstrate today is the capability of using Copilot to start building your tables and build a Canvas app. The second part is going to be around using Power Automate. So start by requesting Power Automate or an idea of what you want to build with Power Automate, but then use prompt development so that you can actually enhance your Power Automate and start adding or tweaking the way it's actually working by getting Copilot to do it for you. And the third one is building a portal by telling Power Automate what you want to build and get it to do everything for you. Once those are done, this is just a recap of what the makers can do from a maker's perspective. The second part is going to be using Copilot to expose some of that capabilities to the end user. So we will be doing a Canvas app, so adding it into a Canvas app, adding it into a model-driven, and also adding it into your Power Pages, the one that we've created and during the demo. So without further ado, let's actually start with that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just go into my environment and just make sure that I've got the Copilot capabilities enabled. And this is the landing page. So this is the home page that I've got in here. In case you cannot see some of those Copilot capabilities, you need to go to the Power Platform Admin Center. The best way to actually go there is to use the shortcut provided by Microsoft. So use an aka.ms shortcut PPAC, so PPAC, Power Platform Admin Center. And the moment you do that, is going to take you to the admin.powerplatform.microsoft.com. And in there, you can see all the environments that you're managing. So this is a sample tenancy that I've had for a while. I'm using it for private previews that I'm working with Microsoft on, and that's why you will see that the region is set to private preview United States. But in any of those, you can actually go into the settings of that specific instance. So those are your different instances. Could be the same in your organization. They'll probably be related to sandbox environments and production environments or multiple production environments. You would go under products and features, and over there is a few toggle points where you can go and select and ensure that you've got the Copilot capabilities enabled. So you can scroll down, and then there'll be some Copilot bits, if I can find it. I probably passed it, but anyway, you just go through the settings and just make sure that everything is enabled. You've got some AI capabilities in there. Copilot is at the top, of course, I missed it. And then just make sure that it's enabled, and you can set it to on or default. In my case, default is actually just making sure that everything is on in there. So just make sure that those settings are set up correctly. Right, so we go back into that maker experience. And again, I'm at the home page, not at the tables, not at the apps or anything. And I'm going to request to create an application. Chris Ben, you've got a question?
Yeah, quick question. Are there any license implications? I mean, do we need any additional licensing for these features to work?
So yes and no. So from a maker experience, the commitment from Microsoft that anything to do with sort of configuring the environment would not require a Copilot license. So you should be able to enable it by default. However, if you want to use it for end users, so this is where people that are licensed, that are using the Power Platform, are going to use it from a like an end user perspective, then yes, you will need a license. And I'm going to show you that when we do the model-driven app, it's going to say, set it to default, where it will say, if you have a license and you're eligible to use Copilot capabilities, then you'll be able to go and use it. So yes, for some cases, you will need licenses, especially if it's end user.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Now, let's start with an idea of what we're going to build from an app perspective. So many of the examples that I'm going to use in here are going to be based on a simple use case, which is a pet adoption application. So create an app to adopt pets, right? And that's all I'm going to give it. So let's see what is it capable of doing. Now, remember, this is a prompt development, and it's Copilot, it's not autopilot. So a lot of the capabilities that it's going to do is try and figure out what it can do for you, and then try and build something for you. In this case, I received an error, and this is a good thing, actually. So let me try that again, and maybe I'll change the prompt and say something else. Create an app to adopt pets. Let's try and see if that's gonna work. And I've just tried it like half an hour before this session, and it worked fine. But this is something to note, is that it's not deterministic. So sometimes it might work, sometimes it might not work. You might have to try a few things and then see how things are going to do. So that's the same question that I've asked, and now it's working fine. We don't have any issues. The good thing is that now it's showing you this new designer, which is telling you what are the tables that it's going to create and how they are how they fit together, what are the relationships, the many-to-one, one-to-many relationships between those tables. And then you can click on each one of those tables and then drill down into exactly what you want to do. One thing that I wanted to say is the main purpose of this session is the following. I want Copilots, I want people that are using Copilot, who are using Power Platform and Dynamics 365, not to be afraid of using Copilot and to see where it can help you increase your productivity. Because I think there is a lot of unknown in the market, and a lot of people are a bit afraid of using it. But if you understand the power of what Copilot can do, then you will see the value of using it, and then you'll engage with it more and more often until it becomes the norm moving forward. So again, the main purpose of this session is to get you guys familiar with all the capabilities that are out there that can make you more efficient. On the other hand, as well, there is, as I said, you need to understand the capability of where it adds value and where it doesn't. And there was a famous post that was done by Jukka. He's one of my favorite MVPs from Finland. And he was saying that, and that was an article that he actually got internally from Microsoft. So this is public knowledge. It's not my personal opinion, but it's something that he exposed. And he said internally, people at Microsoft would say, there is a lot of value in using Copilot, but in other situations, it's actually not adding much value, and it feels like it's a bit forced. And I think this is what I'm trying to get to today, is understand where it adds value and where it doesn't. It's not about going there as a consultant or as an end user saying, I want Copilot, or you need to use Copilot everywhere. There's no saying that, hey, if you use Copilot here, you're going to get a lot of value out of it. It may not be applicable in some other situations. Cool. So based on what we've done, let's inspect some of those tables. So as you can see in here, we've got a pet table that is created. It has a pet ID, pet name, pet type, and then the age of the pet, which is really good. But then we want to add something else to it. And this is where prompt development comes in. So you're going to say something like, add gender to the pet table, right? So I'm actually interacting, I'm prompting Copilot, and I'm asking it to go and do modifications and then to be able to do the work for me, as opposed to me going and clicking and doing things that may be mundane or maybe not so interesting. So it understood what I wanted to do. It understood what a gender column is, and it understood what sort of value can go into a gender, male, female, and other. Now, for pets, I just want to say it's either male or female. I don't want both. So I'm going to give it instructions and say, limit gender to 2 values. All right. So let's see. Is this going to be smart or not? It might say, female other, and then remove male, or do male other, or it might do the right thing. But most of the time, what I've realized is actually it understands context, and it uses the power of AI to actually be able to give you the right values moving forward. So in this case, it got it right, and it's working as expected. So save and open app. Now that I'm happy with that, save and open app. Done working with that, so we're not going to be changing anything in here. In the meantime, I'm just opening the chat window. And behind the scenes, it's figuring out what are all the screens that it needs to create for us, and how it's actually going to introduce some of the capabilities. The adoption page, and then the pet page, and then gives you the full CRUD capability. Now, I have done some of those capabilities before in previous sessions. The one thing that I want to just add to it is, yes, it is a starting point. So don't think that it's going to come up with the exact vision that you have on how your Canvas app is going to be created. But think about all the things that it's doing behind the scenes. So it gives you a starting point. You go and tweak it, and then the majority of the work is done for you. So one of the things that I've added that I demonstrated last time is that it created the app, it created all the pages, it did all the CRUD, so the edit, the delete, the read, but also on top of that, it made your app responsive. And if you think about it, like we just gave it a few prompts, we tweaked the data model, and then we asked it to go and create the app. Imagine how long, when Canvas apps first came out, how long would it have taken you to go and create an app, create the data model, create the app for it, and then make it responsive? That's hours worth of work that we've done in 5 minutes. So again, understanding the power of Copilot and what it can do for you is super important, and it will help you greatly in your day-to-day life from a maker's perspective. Right, so let's have a look at whether it did something interesting in there. It's loading. You will also notice that there is some Copilot capabilities that are sort of highlighted just around. Some of it will be a prompt where you can write, like, for example, a Power FX formula. Sometimes it will be a prompt to explain what the formula is all about. And I think this is really powerful, especially when it comes to being able to do a prompt and being able to request clarification over what it's doing. So think about it, especially as we go into Power Automate. where you have a Power Automate that is already created, and then you go to the prompt and you say, explain to me what this Power Automate is doing. And it will go and traverse all of that capabilities, all the logic in there, and it will tell you it's doing X, Y, and Z, which comes in quite handy if you're reverse engineering or if you're new to the project and you're trying to understand what is the purpose of the different bits that are happening in there. So also think about it as, for example, the Copilot for Visual Studio, for example, or the GitHub Autopilot. Sorry, so let's skip that bit in here. And it's the same logic, right? So if you're using C# code and then use Copilot on it, on GitHub, it will go and traverse the code. It will give you suggestions on how to improve your code. It will go and tell you, like you can tell it, can you create a function for me or a routine that will do X, Y, and Z, and we'll go and write the code for you. Now we're doing the same with low code, no code environments where you're using Copilot to do the work that you want it to do. So as you can see in here, we've got the pet screen that is created, fully functional. You know, you can click on those different bits. So let's actually try and run it. So as you go from one pet to the other, it's actually going to create the different bits. You can go and delete the record. You can, go and create a new one. All of that is functional. All of that is done straight out of the box by, Copilot and just by listening to some of your instructions. Right, and as I said, it's also responsive. So if you're using it on a mobile device or on a tablet or on a full screen, it also embedded all of those capabilities within the solution that you've got. And you've got a welcome screen and the adoption screen and so on. Perfect, that's good, really great. All right, so let's move on now to the next part. Maybe I'll do Power Automate next. So in order to do that, I'll go to make.powerautomate.com. I usually use the preview one in here because this is a preview environment, and I do get a few new features that are enabled ahead of time. So that allows you to be a little bit ahead of the game and understand, what's happening in that perspective. So again, we're starting at on the home screen, and we've got that familiar prompt that looks exactly like the Dataverse one. And we've got we can ask it a few questions in here. So what I'm going to do is, again, say my intent, what I'm trying to achieve, and see if it will be able to create it for me. So create a flow that will trigger on update of a contact, or let's say on create of a contact, and then creates a new account. Right, and then let's click on generate. Now, what I've noticed in Power Automate, and again, the experience might be slightly different between different products, is that in here, it will try to do its best to give you multiple options on how you can do that. Now, this is a purely fictional environment. In this case, it could not find anything. So let's see if I can change the prompt. So create a flow that triggers on create of a contact and send an email to me. I don't want to do that. And create an associated account. Maybe this one. When a client is created, create an associated account. So let's see, we'll change the prompt slightly and see what it can do. I'm just trying to illustrate the different options that it will give you. And then you will notice that it will give you an attempt and then it will say, but if you don't like it, you can try something else as well. Now, once again, there's no flow suggestions in here, so let's maybe rewrite that. I don't know, today is it's a bit moody. On create of account, create a new contact. Let's see if that is going to happen. Usually it will come up with 2 or 3 different suggestions. Here we go, finally. Okay, so it came up with a suggestion. It understood that when a row is added, something is going to happen. And in this case, it's doing a list. So it's doing a search for a few capabilities and then looping through those and then adding a new row for each one of them. I don't like it. So I might say, sure, different suggestion. And now this has changed into something slightly different. So now you can see the first suggestion that was created and the second suggestion. I'll go with this one. So this one is more around You create a record, you go and look for a specific record, and you go and create a new record after that. So let's click on next and take it there. It's going to try and validate my connection to the environment, and it manages the connection references. Now, notice in the past, when you add different records, then you may end up using more than one connection reference, and here it's ensuring that it's done once. If you've done Power Automate deployments in the past, you know the pain of connection references and connections. Again, this is just a starting point. It's not necessarily following best practice. It's doing its best to give you a way forward. But then as a consultant, this is where you would add value and go, all right, well, it's not just about having a connection reference that is assigned to my account, is maybe having something that will be available in upper environments and so on. So you need to work a little bit on that. But that feels like it's a conversation for a completely new session. All right, so as you can see, it does its best to actually retrieve the information that you need, but it might come up with a few errors or a few things that you need to look into. So one of the things that I might do is maybe delete that step in here and then just keep the add new row. And then again, you can use prompt development to go and enhance the way things are working. So regarding the first one, so I want to make sure, so this is change type. I want to make sure this is done on add, when something is added of a specific table. So it didn't understand that I was looking for a specific table. Now it's asking me what you want to do. So I'm going to say, when you create a specific contact, make sure this is the scope of this is at the organization level. But now all of a sudden the error is gone. So when I'm creating a contact, trigger this Power Automate. There's more we can do. So if you're doing, again, this is part of the new designer, you can say you can filter the rows. So only create or trigger this flow if the contact is, of a specific, from a specific location or from a specific country or whatever the logic is. So you can add some additional bits in here, but for now we're happy with that. And then you're going to create a new row. So what's happening in here? Nothing. This new row is empty. So let's say we're creating an account. And then the moment I select account, then it understands what are the values that are available in account, specifically account name. Now I'm keeping account name empty, and I'm going to use Copilot prompt development again, now to interact. So when Copilot first came out, Microsoft provided us with the initial experience where you can tell it what to do, and that's it. You don't get the chance to interact with Copilot again to go and update those values and then get it to do something else. But they've listened to the feedback, and that was part of their crawl, walk, run strategy. So they will give you an initial capability that will be useful, and then they start building on top of that. So the initial capability is you tell it what you want, and that's it. It does its best. If it didn't get it right, then everything else becomes manual. The second step is to be more interactive, is to tell it, for example, add new row. So when you add a new account, set the name. It usually should not care about spelling mistakes. Set the name to be the first initial of the contact's family name. Let's see if this is going to work. May work, may not work. Today it's a little bit moody, but let's see. So far, the different examples that I've used in the past have worked. So let's have a look. All right. So here it's giving you an example of what it's trying to do. And it's looking at the sort of contact substring of the contact last name 0 and 1. So that looks quite promising. Did it apply it in here? No, it didn't. To set the name of a new contact to be individual. So it's giving you instructions on how to do it. Now, sometimes it actually does it for you if it understands exactly how you want to do things, and it goes and updates it in there. And then you will see that there will be a little tick box in here that says, yes, I'm happy with that, or an undo button. So if it does the wrong thing, you're like, it's not exactly what I want, then you can undo it and it will revert back the changes that it has done, especially if they're more advanced capabilities or more advanced commands. Cool. I'll leave it for here for Power Automate, but so far we've had a look at how you can create your tables and your Dataverse Canvas apps, your Power Automate using Copilot and prompt development. And now the next stage is to go to Power Pages in here. Once again, I go to make.powerpages.microsoft.com. This one is a bit different. So everything else is make.powerapps.com or make.powerautomate.com. This is make.powerpages.microsoft.com. So slightly different. And I've got an environment where I can go and create my own sites. Again, I go to the home page, and then it comes up with that prompt in here that will ask me, what do you want to do today? I'll use the same example of pet adoption. So create a portal or a website for pet adoption. And that's it. That's all I'm going to ask it to do. We've seen that in some of the previous sessions. I think Mark McRae did a few examples in there on how that might work. It comes up with a name for that site and an address. I'm not going to bother too much about changing them. It's going to ask me a few questions about what else do I want to do. So first of all, starting with the look and feel. Yeah, it looks good. I mean, yeah, it looks like a rave with those sample pictures that I've got in there, some random ones that are in there. And I think all of those come from a licensed version of what Microsoft can provide you in terms of pictures. If you don't like it, you can click on try again. It will try and do another option, but it's not going to do much in terms of changing the images and so on. It's fine for now, so let's click on next. And then you will notice that it will ask you what other pages do you want to add. So in here, I'm going to say, yep, I want an about us, I want to contact us, I want an available pets page. And this is where it's actually becoming interesting. And the adoption process, that's also something that I want to know about. So it's trying to understand what are the possible pages that you might want for this website, and it's coming up with bits where it might make sense. And for once, we've got the actual picture that looks nice, so a picture of a dog. So that's a good start. So click on done, and then it's going to do all the magic behind the scenes to create the portal, to create the different pages, and then make sure everything is set up as expected. So one thing I want to highlight as well is that not only is it going to create a portal for you, and this is going to be a good segue into our next part of the conversation, which is good timing because we're just about halfway through the session, is that it's going to create a sample chatbot that will be used in the background that will allow you to interact with the website. And this is going to be the first example where we're exposing something all the way to the external users, not just from a maker experience and then to the internal people. So let's wait for it to be created. In the meantime, what I might quickly do is just jump into the back into the maker experience. So we don't care about that. It's closing. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the chatbots, and we'll see if it actually created that. Adopt a pet. This is from a previous one that I've created, so maybe it's in the process of creating it. But basically, you will notice that there's a new chatbot that is created in here. And then, of course, once you create on chatbot, so it used to be in the chatbot section. If you look at the little link in there at the bottom, let me see if I can actually quickly show you. So all the way at the bottom, you will notice it will say PVA, Power Virtual Agent, which is the old name for Copilot Studio. But in fact, what it's doing actually behind the scenes is creating a chatbot using Copilot Studio. You can go there and train it, but by default, it will already be trained to be able to provide you with information on your website. All right, so here you go. Pages created. You can even go, again, you've got the prompt development in here. You can go and prompt it to go and change information that you've got on your portal, add new pages and do all the changes. So it works exactly, it gives you the same experience that we've seen before. Now, if you want to add a Copilot to your portal in here, how would you do it? So the first interaction that I thought, or the first intuitive thing that I thought I would do is click on add a section. And then once you've got that, then you select the type of section that you want. And then maybe in here, you would have like a Copilot option or something like that. But no, that's not the way you do it. You actually go into the settings side of things. And in here, you will notice that now they've got a new section called Copilot. site search and add Copilot. So let's click on Copilot. And by default, it will have a little tick box that says that it's going to create a Copilot for you behind the scenes. So right now, this is looking like it's not enabled yet. Hold on, the Copilot is being set up. So once this is set up, and that's why it's not showing up in here anymore. So it's just a little bit of time before this actually takes action. So let's have a look. Is it there? Is it there? So is it? Yep, there we go. So this one was not there before. So it's actually creating it, it's training it. So as you can see, it has no topics, whereas the other ones that I created before have 14 topics. So it's actually setting it up and then getting everything up to speed. And then eventually when that will happen, then that toggle will be on and the enable Copilot will be on as well. And then once those are on, I'm going to run a preview for the site and we're going to have a look at how this is going to work. In the meantime, let's actually shift gears and then have a look at something slightly different as this Copilot is being created. Again, recapping what we've done so far, we had a look at Copilot for creating Dataverse tables, for creating a Canvas app, Copilot for creating Power Automate, Copilot for creating your Power Pages. Now, the next 3 steps that we're going to do is Copilot built into model-driven apps, Copilot built into your Canvas app, and then Copilot built into your Power Pages. So let's have a look at the apps that we've got in there. Maybe in this example, let me have a look at it. First MDA. Okay, we'll just use that bit in here. So this is a model-driven app that I've created a while ago, and I can go and edit that model-driven app. So this is the familiar experience that a lot of you would have seen using the Maker experience. And one thing that I want to note that right here, you're not going to see any references to Copilot. One thing that you probably need to do is click on Settings. And on the Settings, there's Features. On the Features, maybe as it's actually loading, you will see there's a few capabilities that are available in there. And one of them would be to enable Copilot. There should be a tab at the top as well that will give you some of the previous preview features. So probably it's under upcoming. So let's have a look. Trigger Copilot control, switch it on. As you can see in here, it can also go to default. And this is where a Copilot license is required. So if the end user does not have a Copilot license, it's not going to appear in there, so they won't be able to see it. Right, so it is on in here, so there's nothing else that I have to do. But basically, if I say, let's actually go and interact with this model, with this model-driven app, and I didn't have to do much other than just enable it, right? So as you can see, it's available now for us in here. There's a shortcut in there. There's another shortcut in there that you can use. So I've got active accounts, my active accounts. Let's look at active accounts, maybe contacts. Let's have a look at contacts. Okay, I've got a few contacts in here. I've got John Rambo, Rocky Balboa, and Black Widow. I can actually go and interact and ask it. It knows the context, so I didn't have to do much in Copilot setup. So I didn't have to say your data set is coming from contacts or your data set is coming from accounts. It just knows that there is a context in here, and in that context is about contacts. So how many contacts do I have? And it goes and interacts with the actual database, with Dataverse, and it goes and checks how many contacts do we have and comes back with an answer. I've got 3 contacts. Now, obviously, you can do way more than that. The examples that I'm giving are a little bit simplistic, but I can say, you know, how many male contacts do I have? And then hopefully it will go and analyze the records that we've got, and it will be able to tell us that we've got 2 out of the 3 that are actually males, and it did get the answer right. It can get it wrong. And I've seen it where actually like there was 10 and it miscalculated and said there was 5 rather than 6 that are males. It can get it wrong. But, you know, with time, things like that are improving, and you can do more interactions with it. You can trigger events. You can say, for example, create an account or populate 10 example accounts or do things like that. So, you know, the more rich it is, the more capable it will be able to run. So think of it as now we're an end user using the model-driven, and we want to run a query. We want to know how many people do we have in Wellington. We want to know, how many, have been interacted with, and so on. Now you can see the power of Copilot, where you can go and ask those queries, and it will go and interact with the data and return the capabilities that it has. One thing that is really interesting is to have a look at the prompts and what it's doing behind the scenes. So in here, there's the ACT, AAA that they call, so act, analyze, and ask. And you will see that sometimes it will be able to break down how did the query came in. So, for example, this is like a template. How many table name are, and then put in a condition. So sometimes when you ask your question, it will try to fit it into one of those templates, and it will know exactly how to go and run your query. So this is really interesting way of sort of interacting and then seeing how it's actually doing the rest of the work. Chris Ben, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm asking more questions. Hey, couple of things. Does it respect the role-based access on the records?
Sorry, does it respect?
Does it respect the role-based access? So
absolutely, yeah.
Okay, cool. So it will restrict that information if I don't have access to it, correct?
Correct. Yes, that's correct. So what it's doing is actually almost like impersonating you and then trying to see what information is available in there and returning the answer. So if you don't have access to it, yes, you won't be able, and it will reflect in the answers as well. It will respect the role-based access.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand, that Copilot acts on behalf of you rather than...
Correct. Yes,
okay, cool.
Yes,
okay.
Correct. Yeah, so and this is a big thing for Microsoft. So security and AI, and also actually what's really interesting is that sometimes if you read some of the Azure AI capabilities, they've retired some of the options that are available because of responsible AI. As an example, look at the face recognition capabilities, part of the AI Vision, I think it's called, Azure AI Vision. So right now, they've deprecated some of the capabilities, like, for example, they don't try and predict age, they don't try and predict race, they don't try and predict mood, because they feel like there's prejudice in there, and that's not part of the responsible AI movement that Microsoft has. So even though it is capable to a certain degree of giving you this information, Microsoft is deprecating those, saying that's not ethical to use some of that. So that's part of it, but also security is paramount for them, and that's why everything that goes through the correct channels and is translated into fundamental queries that go into Dataverse and return the data respecting your existing role base. Good question, though. Cool. So now we have had a look at the model-driven apps. The next part that I'm going to do is have a look at a Canvas app. So let's have a look, go back in here, go back to our usual experience. So one Canvas app, I think I created that yesterday. I can't remember what it was about. Maybe not this one. I think it was in the third solution. Maybe it was that one. Apps, 0 apps in here. Let me go back to one Canvas app and see if this is the one that I want. So Canvas app is slightly different. And again, this is one of the things that I love and hate about Canvas apps, and also I love and hate about model-driven apps. Model-driven apps are not pixel perfect. So you get a design that is pre-baked by Microsoft. Sometimes this is great because you want to do rapid development. You want to be able to deliver capabilities as quickly as you can. So you want to define your schema, and this is why we say it's schema first, or tables first, data first. You start with that, and then you say, I want to view. And it will give you some options to tweak that view, be it the order, the attributes that you want to show, the filtering behind it, but the look and feel remains the same. You don't have much control over it, maybe a little bit of CSS, but not more than that. And again, this is really good because it allows you to do rapid development. You can go tell your customers, this is out of the box, this is what you get. don't try and change it. That's how it's going to work. And that works great. When we introduce Copilot, again, because it's driven by the look and feel that Microsoft imposes on you, then they have control over what is on the page. And usually on the page, you're going to get a record, or you're going to get a list of records, or you're going to get a Canvas app. And even then, the Copilot will be able to understand the context and the navigation and how to go from one page to the other and what is possible and what is not. And that's why when I said enable Copilot, I didn't have to do any other configuration in there. However, when it comes to Canvas app, it's pixel perfect. And again, I say the best thing about Canvas apps is that it's pixel perfect. The worst thing is that it's pixel perfect. And it's because you have to worry about every single pixel, where it goes and what it does and how it's, what color it is and what it will do in order to have a nice appealing looking app. But at the same time, you have to look after the navigation, you have to look after, the sizing and all of that. And when you put in a Copilot control in there, it will not have that understanding in terms of what is it related to. So that's why when you go and add a little component in there, so there is artificial intelligence in there, and there is Copilot. So if I take that Copilot control and add it in there, then it's going to first tell me which data source is it going to be related to. So in here, I can say I want a contact or I want an account, and then you have to select it in order for it to reflect and then be able to use it in there. So here you go. Now that I've set it up and I said this is related to a contact, I'll just delete that one for now. Then it will understand that this is how it's going to work. And it will understand that if I ask it a question such as, how many male contacts do I have? I think it's related to the same Dataverse. It's part of the same instance. Then it's going to go and retrieve that information from Dataverse, and is going to come back and give me the same information that I was hopefully seeing on the MDA side of things. It is a bit slow today. I don't know if it's my connection or whether there's some like a heavy load happening on the servers, but that's probably one of the feedback that we will be giving Microsoft is that, like, if you want to interact with it, you want it to be faster than you going and finding the solution. And sometimes if it's a simple question, you might as well do it yourself rather than use Copilot. But eventually it's going to come back and then give you the answer. Now, this control that I've added is called Copilot, and it's a prompt type of interaction. So you can talk to it, and it's going to show you the history of all the different things that you've asked. But also what it will do is actually go back and understand the context. So if you have a next query that is going on top of an existing one, then it can refine its answer and then give you the answer back. Yeah, so anyway, it's taking a little bit of time, so eventually it's going to come back with the answer. The other control that I wanted to demonstrate is the summary one. So this is where you go and you have the Copilot answer. So if I plot it in there, then again, it needs to understand the context in terms of which one are you going to be using moving forward. So I can go there and I can say this is related to the contact. But it also needs to understand what is the question that you're trying to ask. So in here, it has the question for Copilot, summarize records. So if I go and then run this and then click on this, so all it's doing is always answering the same question as the summary of all the contacts. There are 3 contacts in the data set. It knows that answer. It knows what the question is, and it always tries to answer that. Sometimes you go and make some changes, and then you click on regenerate. Then it will go and refresh that same question that you've got. It doesn't have prompts, right? And it doesn't have a way of interacting with it. But we can actually do that. So this one timed out. I don't know what happened in there, but yeah, we'll just leave it. So as I said, it is a value in here, question for Copilot. But then if you select the control and then go into all the variables that are in there, you've got question. And that's the same one in here, summarize records, summarize records. Now, as we know in Canvas, it's all driven by information that is available on the canvas itself. So I've created a little input field in here. So let's grab the name of that input. So text input canvas 1. And what I'm going to say is that the question from here is going to come from this record and then give me the value associated with it. Right? So now we've linked the summary result based on the question that we can ask on the top, and we've turned it into more of a prompt development with one answer only. So remember, that control that we've got on the left-hand side shows you the history of all the interactions. The one on the right-hand side will show you the results that we've gotten there. Now, while I'm there, I just want to highlight one thing just related to that little Copilot link that we've got in there. So if I click on that and I say explain this formula, especially if you have something a little bit more complex, then it's going to tell you exactly how it's actually got to that and what it's trying to do. So the expression retrieves the value entered in the text input canvas 1 control. So that explains the formula for you. So it makes it a little bit easier. All right, let's test drive that little baby now. So now the summary doesn't know what is in there, so you have to type in the question in order to trigger the summary. So how many male contacts do I have? And then the moment I lose the focus, then it's hopefully trying to run this query, and then it will be able to do it again. I'm actually quite surprised that it actually did that. So now it's answering the question that I've got in there. So if I say how many female contacts do I have, and then lose the control, because I've already triggered it, it's going to trigger it again. And now it's going to give me the other answer. So again, what we've created in here is the Canvas app experience for end users. So this, now that the maker experience is done, we've done one for model driven, and now we've done one for Canvas apps. I'm just trying to show you how you can use the Copilot capability for your end users and then make their day-to-day life easier. Cool. So hopefully that brings us full circle back to Power Pages. So now that's the last part of the example that we're trying to do. So let's refresh that page and let's see if now Copilot is available. Any questions so far? Right. Let's have a look. And let's hope it's now enabled. So it did create it. We did see that the Copilot was enabled, and we did see that we could interact with it. Unfortunately, hold on, the Copilot is being set up. It doesn't look like it's being set up yet. And I'll do another refresh. Actually, maybe I will navigate away and I'll do a preview. So this is Copilot interacting with the pages themselves. Click on this. So this is where you can go and preview the site that you've got. You can click on desktop. Sometimes the link doesn't work for me, or you can use the QR code in order to try it on your mobile phone, for example. So yeah, this is the experience that we've got. And then eventually what you will have is a little Copilot icon at the bottom in here that will allow you to interact with that site. So going back to the designer, going back to setting things up, and going back to add Copilot. If that doesn't work, I'll see if I have another backup site that has that capability enabled. No, it's still not there. So it's probably still, this seems to be something slow today with the environments that we've got. So let me go out. Let me have a look at the chatbots. Right, so it's for some reason this one hasn't picked up the topics yet, so it's probably still being set up. Okay, let me try a different site. I've got another one that is already created, and hopefully that's still valid. Car rental. Edit that one. All right, so about us, contact us, FAQ, and vehicle selection. Those are the different pages. Let me click on vehicle selection just to see what does that look like. Okay, some sample images in there, all good. Okay, so let's go to setup and go to add Copilot to site. All right, so this one is enabled. So you can see that the Copilot has been created, and it's triggering the trial version and all of that. And now I want to enable Copilot on the site. So I click on Enable Copilot. So what it will do is it will publish the Copilot. So it's been created, but it hasn't been published. So it means, it won't be accessible. But the moment you publish it, then it will be accessible. And then let me try and go to that link, do the shortcut really quickly. All right. So open a new tab. Open the site. And then hopefully at the bottom, we'll be able to see the little icon that will have the chat capability. And then we can click on that. It will be trained by default to understand the context that is available on your portal itself. And then after that, the next step is to train it to do some more things. So you can point it to other websites. You can point it to some knowledge base articles, to some documents, for example, that are part of your website, so that when people go and ask for some questions, then it will be able to answer them. So in a previous session, I've done I trained an entire Copilot based on the Tenancy Tribunal in New Zealand, and I was able to demonstrate how, within a few clicks, it will start answering questions about how to do, like how to be a landlord, for example, or something like that. All right, so this is our car rental site. And as you can see now, we have a new chat window that is available in there. It opens up a familiar experience to if you've used chatbots in the past with some other websites, and you can start interacting with it. So for example, where can I find your vehicle selection? Vehicle. French spelling. Right, and then hopefully it will be able to give us the link that will take us back to that specific page that is the vehicle selection in there. Again, it's non-deterministic, so sometimes it will give you the answer correctly, sometimes it won't. In this example, it actually told us that, hey, you can find it on our website, and there's a link in there that will take you to the site that you want. Awesome. Right, so generally speaking, I think other than a few hiccups here and there, the demo gods were on our side. It's always hit and miss with AI capabilities and Copilot, but I think my message was delivered, basically. So I wanted you guys to understand that Copilot is there for you. Don't be afraid of using it. In fact, I would recommend that you master it to understand its strengths and weaknesses and understand where it's going to make your life more productive, your life easier on your day-to-day consultancy side of things. So we had a look at how we can use it for creating Power Automates, for creating Power Pages, and also for creating schema and a Canvas app. And then the second part of the session, we actually went and had a look at where can we use it from an end user perspective. So where can we configure it to provide that option to the end users? And then we started by having a look at how you can do it in a Canvas app, for example, in a model-driven app, and then we finished up with the Power Pages and how can external users use your Copilot capabilities. Some words of wisdom. When we went to the summit in the MVP summit in March, the big topic was about Air Canada. So Air Canada had a chatbot that was trained to answer some questions about its knowledge base from its knowledge base articles. And it made the news, it made the front page of a lot of websites saying that, that chatbot gave some people that were experiencing some hardship wrong advice. And those customers followed that advice because, they asked the question and this is what the website returned. It was specifically around a person who had, was on bereavement and had to urgently travel from one state in Canada to the other so that he can attend a funeral. And then he asked whether he can book at full price and then get a bereavement discount from Air Canada later. And the chatbot said, yeah, sure, book your ticket and then, you can worry about it later. But in fact, he needed pre-approval. So when he went and contested that, they said, no, you should have went and read all the knowledge articles that are on our website, and you should not have trusted the chatbot. And he's like, that doesn't sound right. So they actually ended up in court. And the Air Canada was trying to defend their position and to say that the chatbot itself is a separate entity. It's not actually part of Air Canada or the Air Canada staff. But then the judge said, it's on your website, you're giving advice part of it, you better make sure it gives the right advice. It is your responsibility to make sure it's set up correctly. Now, as we were talking to Microsoft about that example, it was quite obvious that it was a poor implementation of chatbot. And we're seeing that a lot in the market right now. A lot of big organizations are rushing into getting some AI capabilities in there. And the reason why they do that, and that's actually an interesting point of view from a consultancy perspective, is that it affects their position in the market. So if you have a portfolio for an organization and you have a big tick box saying we leverage AI, no matter how good or bad it is, but we are actually using AI in our capabilities, that's a big tick box. And in the market, then they are seen as innovators, and then they're doing some innovation with AI. And as such, the market share will go up. And right now in the market, we're seeing a lot of customers coming to us and say, hey, can you please help us with our AI capabilities? We need to show that we're innovating in that space. So we go and build a chatbot, be it useful, be it not, we don't know, but they just want that tick box done so that they can sort of improve their market share. What I would say is that it's important to understand the strength and the potential risks that you've got with the chatbot, and as a consultant to advise them on what is the best way of actually implementing that capability. In the case of Air Canada, it was a poor implementation, and most importantly, it was not tested properly for all the different scenarios. And this will come as the product becomes more mature in the market, more case studies are done, and then more best practices are announced, so that people can actually focus on how to have a best implementation for their actual customers or for their actual organization. So keep that in mind. And the best thing I can tell you is play around with it, really understand it, because once you master it, then you can be the person advising on what is best practice and how to do things and how not to do things. And the more experience we've got in the market, the more we can share and the more we can address situations like that. Cool. That brings us to the end of the presentation. Actually took exactly 1 hour. We've got a couple of minutes left for any questions. So yeah, if you want to get off mute or if you actually have anything you would like to share, just feel free to do that. So Raghavan, go ahead. How's it going?
Yeah, very good. Thanks for your time, Rami. Very good demo. Just two quick questions. One is, do you have any success in pointing the SharePoint knowledge source for the Copilot? The Power Pages setup you have done very quickly, which is awesome. And then when you add a knowledge base as a SharePoint, I'm having a very hard time to actually authenticate.
Yeah, I don't think I've tried it specifically. My area was more around the Dataverse side of things. The other thing that actually we just came across with one of our customers is that they had data in blob storage, documents in blob storage, and they were like, oh, so how can we search that? How can we index it and all of that? And out of nowhere, we're like, why don't we use Copilot? And if you think about it, those are the scenarios that are going to become common, where you can actually point your Copilot to a set of data, and that will summarize it and give you the information that you want. For SharePoint specifically, I haven't done that. Nathan, I saw that you jumped in and you raised your hand. Do you have any insight on that?
So I'm actually working on a project with that right now. So there is a private preview to hook up, so specifically for customer service Copilot, to hook up to SharePoint knowledge. If you're using SharePoint as a knowledge base, so it's in private preview. We were going to set it up in this project that we're on, and then they elected not to go forward with it. So I haven't been hands-on with it, but that's in private preview.
Yeah, I'll be in touch with you, Nathan.
Yeah. Rami, one thing I wanted to just call out, I can't remember if you called this out or not. In the PPAC, when you are enabling Copilot, there's two, the settings are right on top of the other. This is what we discovered the other week on this project. And they're both called, I think, Power Platform or Power Apps Copilot.
Yeah.
The one on the top is the one that builds your Dataverse tables and apps. And the one on the bottom is the one that actually shows up in your model-driven apps and lets you query Dataverse. So it's a little confusing. They're both called the exact same thing, but they do different things.
Right. Let's have a look at them. So it's in your environment, right?
Yeah. So go to your features, I think.
Yeah. So on the settings, products, features, and then they were at the top.
Yeah, it was at the top of the features. Yeah, Copilot. So yeah, so this one, so that's the one that makes the apps, and then the one underneath of it.
Yeah. So this is for the makers. Yeah.
Yeah, the one underneath of it where you see that drop down and it says default, that's the one that lets you query Dataverse and say how many active cases we have, that type of thing.
Yeah. And then Copilot answer. So this is Canvas editor. So allow Canvas editor to insert the Copilot answer components. So this is the one that I was also demonstrating from a Canvas app perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes those features can become really confusing, and because there's so many of them, then you forget which one is what, and then they give you variations like nuances between them, and it makes it difficult to understand. But yeah, that's a good tip. Cool, thanks for that, Nathan.
Yeah, no worries.
Thanks, Nathan. And then my final question, which is, on the Power Pages, you have that chatbot at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Did you try to make any customization similar, trying to mimic the ChatGPT kind of interface, making that bottom Copilot chatbot to appear in a full view, the Power Pages?
So the look and feel, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. There is an article on Learn the beginning of it is how to enable it for your Power Pages. The second part is actually how to customize it and then change the CSS and the look and feel of it. I haven't tried full screen, but I played a little bit with just changing the look and feel. So yeah, I'll try and find the article and I'll share it with you, definitely.
Thank you, Rami. Thank you so much for your time.
That's all right. Well, okay, so we've just passed 5 o'clock. So thank you everybody for attending. If you have any more questions, feel free just to ping us offline. There's a few MVPs on that call, so all of us are more than happy to contribute if you've got any clarifications or any questions or any feedback if you have on Copilot and the AI capabilities from Microsoft, because a lot of us are actually on an ongoing interaction with Microsoft, giving them feedback and basically amplifying the messages that the community is giving us in terms of what the shape of the product should look like and what are the things to improve. So thank you everybody for attending, and hopefully we'll see you next month. Cheers.
Thanks, Rami.
Bye, guys.